effort called It Takes a Village. I know that in my absence, Christine mentioned it at our last meeting, but I want to tell you, we have really garnered tremendous support across the island. We have spoken to the CEOs of 10 organizations here on the island, all of whom have designated a board member to act as an advisory team just for the oversight of how this is going to unfold. But I want to share with you that it is, we anticipate a good turnout. We are looking for members of every board to plan to attend. It is a Saturday of meeting weekend, so we wanted to get that on your agenda. And it is going to be designed and executed as a celebration of the partnership of our residents with our organizations to create the experience known as Bald Head Island. So it is a community celebration, and it is designed to thank our residents for joining with us and being our partners in this island adventure. And so
celebrating volunteers all.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Volunteers. It's to celebrate the volunteers who dedicate their time to the various organizations on the island, as well as to showcase those organizations' mission and contributions to the island, all in one place. And we are doing it at the BHI Club. We will use the hallway of the club to produce some displays and some recognition for our volunteers. The Ocean Room will be the venue. We will have a couple-hour cocktail and light dining experience, and we really are working hard to get a very large audience there. So I just want to let you know we are very excited, in addition to the board members who have been willing to serve as an advisory team. I've had a number of the CEOs say, well, I want to come to the meeting. I want to come to the meeting. So I just think we are all looking forward to what will be a really positive experience for the island. So that's it.
And very affordable.
And we're trying to make it very affordable. We are working with the club on a price point that they feel is doable, but we are also going to look towards the organizations to try and fundraise about $5,000, and we'd like to subsidize that portion, the dining portion of the activity, so that when we actually publish it, the price point will come down to about $25 per person. Okay, so that's one of the missions of the advisory group, is to help us identify those funds.
And that's excellent. And thank you so much for doing
Okay,
that. And
so it is going to be fun.
it's going to be fun across the board. And what's really nice is that being affordable and open to any person that lives on the island.
Any property owner, Middle Island, BHA, and any of the BHI limited properties. So it's everybody.
It's great hard work you've been doing, along with Ann and all the other leaders of the different venues. So thank you guys. Okay, it is Friday, October 24th, 8:34, and I call this meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Move on to number 2, approval of consent agenda A, minutes from 9/26/25 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look over those?
Yes, and I had a chance, Vicki, before, as soon as I got in the office, I had a chance to change out the wording for that one thing that you found. So it's all.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I move we approve those minutes as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes. Moving on to our director's report. Good morning, Doug. And what do you have to share with us today?
Good morning. Budget, more budgets. So our presentation is a little short and sweet today, but not for lack of effort, for sure. So it always wants to fight with you.
It does really like to fight with me on that.
And I heard you had a great finance meeting.
Did have a good finance meeting. Got that in here as well. So for the public session today, we'll recap process of budget, given that the budget really hasn't been adopted by board and really reviewed by board. We'll hold off on discussions about numbers in the sessions.
I like your picture. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Oh, sweet.
All right, we good?
I think so. Can you guys see that online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Go ahead. All right, so we'll cover annual budgeting process, a brief audit update, and then a brief Bannock update from Dora. So jump right in. So believe it or not, I think we're on schedule. So we created the schedule this year and had lots of input from finance. Vicki was a big help with this as well. I wanted to emphasize on this slide how transparent, and I use the word methodical, this process has been. And I can't speak to prior years because I wasn't here, but the way I like to conduct the budgeting process is full engagement with staff, full engagement with committee, and then really take an open book approach so that everyone can see what's there. It's the residents' money, and we want to be as transparent as possible. So as a matter of process, I'll just highlight where we started and where we are today. We started with the staff, developed a schedule, which is copied there on the slide, so that we had an idea of what dates we actually needed to shoot for. And I think we're there. We have delivered the preliminary budget to Finance Committee, and they've had an opportunity to review and have an opinion on it. We developed a forecast model. That's what we started with the staff, so that staff could look at, what's the projections through the end of the year. And then I shared that with all the staff members, and we had some individual staff meetings, going over line item detail, assumptions, what we did last year, what we think we need to do this coming year. So I feel like we've got a lot of engagement on the staff side of the equation. Reserve study, we developed a 30-year model, which I don't believe you'd been using before. And we updated the reserve study this year, obviously. So we put all that data into the reserve study so that we could model out, what portion of the total assessment we could apply to the reserve contribution savings account on an annual basis. A lot in that sentence. And so, that model is very handy, I think, during budgeting exercise, and I'm sure maybe Paul will speak to it, but reserves, we did a 3-year look ahead inspection list as well. So we, in addition to sort of updating the reserves, building the reserve model, we then looked at a snapshot of the next 3 years, put that on a piece of paper, and went out to the field and looked at those items that were on the list. Anything that we thought maybe, I thought maybe we needed to add to the list that the consultant missed, we did that. And so that gave us sort of a good picture on if a particular asset, let's just say a boardwalk, was being called for as a replacement item by the consultant in this year or next year. We looked at that and said, yeah, we had an opinion on it, basically. And we said, look, we feel like this dock can be pushed out another 3 years, or we see a dock right beside it that we need to pull forward a couple of years. So that was the intent of that exercise. As I mentioned earlier, staff was given an opportunity to review the detail. The other component that I like to do during budgeting is go back and try to find the vendor contracts and then audit those with those contracted amounts with the budgeted amounts from last year and then obviously this year. So I did that exercise as well. Cost category format, we've talked about in Finance Committee a lot. I've not been a fan of our presentation of our monthly financials just due to our software enumerate its abilities. And so I've taken that line item detail approach, which is really just a number organization hierarchy of these expense cost codes going down a page. And we put those in cost categories that make sense. And for example, if we have, revenue coming in for advertisements under communications, then we have a revenue line item for communications, and we have all the expense line items specific to communications now. And happy to go through that at some point as well. Sorry, I lost my place. I built some budgets for both the master and the neighborhoods from scratch. So, during this exercise, we had some random spreadsheets that were out there. Well, I felt more comfortable just starting from scratch. So we do have a very good workbook budgeting spreadsheet that contains all of the staff assumptions, my assumptions. So for next year, if I decide to take an extended holiday, I can hand it to Dora and she would know all the ins and outs of how to budget. But that's a good thing to have, and I think that's important. Unfortunately, I didn't have it to work with, but we'll certainly have it next year. That's a big help. We did some preliminary reviews as well with the heads of our finance committee, be it Vicki and Paul. So we wanted to have sort of a first look at it before we got too deep in the process. And they were very helpful in looking at what I had put together and giving us some feedback, formatting, presentation, and general assumptions. And then we took that a step further and eventually got a draft over to the finance committee. I thought that was a very good meeting. That'll be the next slide. I'll just hit the highlights. And then, so the committee meeting was this week. I think we delivered the documents to them on Monday, if I remember correctly, the day before. So they were given a draft budget review set of the master associations and 3 neighborhood associations. And those 3 neighborhood associations are specifically the ones that are formalized as neighborhood associations. Keeper's Landing, Surfman's Walk, and Sumner's Crescent. So those were all reviewed and discussed. I went over all of our assumptions, such as inflationary impacts, changes in overhead, insurance costs, proposed revenue adjustments as well, any potential for 2025 carryover to as available funds, and we went into a lengthy discussion on all of those items. The reserve model was also presented during the meeting with various scenarios, which you can see the graphic to the right there. The numbers are less important on there, but the yellow line is basically your total saving, your balance of your reserve savings account. And then the red line on the graph is the expenses year over year, and then we run it out over time. And then in the model, when you change your annual contribution to that savings account, obviously that balance line will move. And I'm happy to touch on that later after the meeting if anyone wants to see that. So we went through scenarios live with that during the finance committee meeting so that we could see what is a 17% contribution per year, what is a 50, 70%, what does that do over time? And it basically, moves your cash flow out. So that's a good tool, I think, for using during budgeting process, because it can show you if you underfund your reserve account balance in a given year, it will basically make your balance over time run out that much sooner. So it's a good tool. The range of potential assessments options were also provided. So rather than just peg a number from staff, what we did is I gave a table of options for the committee and board to review, which basically takes the assessment from 0 to 4% and everything in between. And it also layers in the impacts of different percentage allocations to your reserve account, overlays basically those assessment percentage increases. So as you, for example, if you were to do a 0% increase on your annual assessment this year, we looked at different scenarios of holding it at 0 increase, yet raising and lowering the annual contribution portion of the reserve piece within that number. If that makes sense. Committee members.
Doug,
Yeah.
the other thing you did is you identified a handful of things that aren't, I guess in the grand scheme of things, aren't enormously significant as to where we could cut the funding or change how we do things. So we actually looked at some of the costs that we could actually manage, whether we should manage it or not, to get in that 0 to 4% discussion.
Correct. And to layer on top of that, we looked at our current cash balance and projected cash balance really through, when we start picking up some more revenue in February. So, what does that end of year, if you will, cash balance look like for the cash carryover and just general, operating dollars in your account at any given time at your, at the end of the year. So, yeah.
I have a question, and Paul, I'm not sure if it's for you or for Doug. In the past, we've had this need to describe any changes in allocations or assessments, I should say, to the small communities. Have you been able to categorize or create a format that explains in categories how that assessment has been put together and what they're going to expect in the upcoming year?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good outline on the website, or at least I've seen it somewhere, where it clearly defines per neighborhood what the scope of their charges are for. And then as far as any changes, we can certainly add that color.
So they're now satisfied with the,
Yeah, that's what I was
with the, are they now satisfied with the explanation of?
As far as I know, I have not
Okay.
heard.
Well, we have to send them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Betty, I think the error that was made a year or so ago, obviously had been cleared up, and we gave them credit in their assessment this year for that. And I think the format that Doug and Leanne have come up with on the budgeting for the neighborhoods or for those sub-associations is going to be a lot clearer. So it shouldn't be the issue. The financial statements are just going to be presented to them in a much more clear manner. So I think that will be very helpful.
We also host a community individual. We host a community individual review at the beginning between the beginning and the end of January for each of those sub-associations that does explain what their budget looks like for that year, if they have any reserve items that are coming up to be replaced, if there's anything going on in that community that's forecasted. And then, I mean, that's where they can come in and their own, almost like their own community board meeting, so to speak. So they can come in and have those discussions and have things explained. And so they do get that twice a year, usually the beginning of January. And we try to do one around like August, September.
Good. That's good news.
So I feel like, maybe Paul can chime in, but I feel like the committee meeting received the information very well. They had some good debate, and I think they came away from that meeting with some level of directive or recommendation to the board. So I'm happy to go into more detail with them if they ask, but I think they were pretty comfortable with what was presented there. So
No, it was actually a very good meeting. We've ended up with a very good finance committee, people who really get into it and care and add a lot of value. And I'm not a fan of long meetings, but we had 2 hours. We really worked through the numbers, and Doug was asked an awful lot of questions. And I know we came out of the meeting and everyone was pretty comfortable with where we are. There are a couple decisions the board has to make, which obviously it's always our decision, but I think they concur with the approach and gave Doug some good input on it.
And I just want to, give Doug some kudos here. I think we have a very thorough, transparent budget that's well integrated into all parts of the association's business. I think the approach he took to build this was quite objective and fact-based, and that can be supported and backed up with the details for where the money's going and coming. And I like the fact that things like the carryover impacts, the impacts from the reserve study are very, clearly incorporated into this budget for us to use in the future. So, this was one of the reasons I wanted to join the board, to make sure I understood how our money was being used. And I feel like Doug and the committee have done a really good job of putting that forth for our membership.
And I have spoken to two individual finance committee members, volunteers, and they were both thrilled with the meeting and how it went, and also echo what Vicki just said. So
Good, thank you.
I'd like to add my compliments to all of you, to Doug, Pam, Paul, Vicki, everyone who's involved in this. The fact that we're getting this level of detail, and that we're also looking at projections going forward, and that the whole BHA employee team has been involved and had some input, is just a level of transparency that we didn't have before. And I think with that, it brings a much more robust process and a higher level of confidence in the numbers. And that should be reassuring not only to us, but also to all of the BHA property owners. So thank you.
Well, if I could add on to that, there are two members of the finance committee who I both know, and they joined the finance committee because they were skeptics of the financials of the BHA and wanted to figure out where the money went. And both of them were very happy after the meeting, So
That's great.
We turned skeptics into advocates, so that's good.
That's great.
great. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a lot of work, and I appreciate Leanne and Doris' help with it too. They were key to it as well. So, I think that's all we got for that. So we got a brief.
Actually, before you move on, just one quick point there, Doug. So is that slide, is that recommending to the board that we then consider a 4% dues increase, or is that not something that you're at yet?
So I think Finance Committee may have a general recommendation for you, which is, and I don't want to speak for Paul, but I think we did get a recommendation out of the Finance Committee meeting. That was not a nailed down percentage. I think it was a range. So I think that's where they're at, and I'm happy to go into more detail at an executive session with those numbers. I wouldn't offer up a number at this time until you guys have seen the options and I can explain them a little further. So I'd like to have the opportunity to do that.
I think it's come down to a handful of either moving parts that the board has to decide, and the implications of where we are in that range in terms of some of the minor operations, but really more importantly about where we're setting ourselves up on reserves. So I think we ought to talk about those things in executive session, and it's within the 0 to 4% increase, and then once we get everyone's feedback on that, then we can make a decision. So it needs to have some more discussion around those factors.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll jump to Vanica. I know, we didn't put it on the slide, but I did see on the news, I think it was this week, Vanica is adding close to 300 staff and expanding some kind of center here in Wilmington. So that's very good news for us.
Great.
So, good choice with these guys. So.
Jackpot.
Mhm.
Yeah, the last 2.5 weeks working with them, I can see why people are picking them. They're extremely informative. They break everything down into an absolute amazing little to-do list of like, hey, this is what you need to take care of. This is probably what Leanne needs to touch in accounting. This is probably what we're going to take care of. And like, they're constantly assigning the different, they'll take the assignments from us once we finish. They put them into the next department. I'll have a data analytics call me for maybe 15 minutes to go over what I'd already submitted just to make sure they're very thorough. They're very educational about everything they're doing. They're very patient, so they've been doing well. We're in our second week of integration. Right now, I venture to say we're ahead of where we should be in 2 weeks, but I mean, that can always kind of bounce back and forth, but we're going to be on target for sure.
And you all seem excited about it, which is,
Oh,
I know it's daunting and scary, I know.
Leanne and I are both halfway through our courses. So, starting this week, I've managed to get. It was once again, it's not part of how their setup goes, but I was able to reach out to one of the team members and explain to them that we have an annual meeting coming up and a lot of things that we need to close by the end of the year. And I would feel more comfortable with our other team members having their Vanica University access ahead of time so that if they can have more downtime now than when it's pressed for them to learn, they can have it because it is a go at your own pace. And they went ahead and put in a red ticket for me to have that in less than 24 hours. I have sign-ins for each one of the staff members now. So they're really good at sticking to what their plan is, but also listening to what our needs are as well.
So in other words, they respond.
Immediately. Actually, honestly, yeah, it's immediate. Whether it's a phone call or whether it's an email, I usually have something back within 15 minutes. So they're very, like I said, educational, flexible, all very, very excited.
Big difference this is going to make.
And so far for what we've done, what we have in the system is very minimal, but it's already easier to access. It's easier to maneuver through. So, but yeah, that's my update.
So I think that's all the slides we had for today. We roll right into Leanne's part if you want.
Yeah.
There she is.
There's Leanne.
All right, thank you, Doug. Let's move on to number 4, financial report. Good morning, Leanne.
Good morning. Dora, I'm going to start with the aging.
Aging report. All righty.
Fuzziness, vocal, audio, I mean.
Okay, as you can see, we're doing very well. I did want to point out on the Sumner's assessment, Sumner's Crescent assessments, you'll see the little red asterisk there. That does not include the credit we gave to each homeowner, which was like $279. So the actual amount we've collected is 94%. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And I have some really good news. As of like the day before yesterday, my last person paid, and we have no liens this year. And so I'm really tickled about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great job.
That's great.
And as you know, these other percentages that are lower, the next payment's due in November. So that's their last quarterly payment. So those percentages will come up also. Dora, the next one is the summary sheet.
Is it just our speaker or is it yours too?
Yeah, mine's doing it too.
What's happening?
Can you see it, Leanne?
Yes. Okay.
Sounds fine here.
Okay. Vicky, I changed that to the year-to-date forecast instead of the annual forecast. So I changed that. The income, we're up $4,786. You can see what's in that. The operating expenses are down $186,556. So I showed where we're off on the budget sheet. The account 8410 for the wildlife overlook. That budget did not include the water treatment. Go, Dora, back down.
Sorry.
There you go. Water treatment was not included in the budget, so but we're doing fine. The legal fees are fine. Some are up, some are down, but they all total out under budget. We had no reserve expenses this time. You have all your balances for all your accounts. I've talked to Christine. Hopefully she's going to get rid of the Truist account next week. She plans on going and doing that. So I did want to show you that. Go down some more, Dora. The balance sheet, I wanted to use the account. I wanted to use the statement that the auditors gave. It's explaining battery force. So I put that here, and it's word for word what the auditors are going to put in the financial statement. So I wanted you to have that. That's about it for the budget, the financials. Anybody got any questions? That's music to my ears.
Leanne,
Okay.
do I need to bring anything with me? Do you have something?
I'm going to send you that email, and that will tell you. They weren't ever right about what they were saying about you couldn't do anything. So I'm going to send you that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We forgot to mention, we have I'll call it a rough draft of the audit that showed up, and typically we distribute that to board for a preliminary review. I did not see where the partner had signed off on the actual draft of this, which was a little confusing to me, and I think Leanne. So I'm not used to seeing the partner. He was on vacation, and it just kind of came out the door from the person that was most involved with the audit. So I'm not saying it's in terrible shape, but I would prefer that partner bless it before we start looking at it. So at any rate, we have made progress with that. It's in its final stages. I think it's just a cursory email from the partner saying, yes, it's good to go. We did get our CPA to give some feedback on it as well on this version of the draft, minor things. And so I would expect that very soon to be able to go to board and all finance committee, whichever you guys prefer.
Hey, Doug, are you going to be able to get someone to replace our CPA for the 25 closing, or are we going to have to be stuck with him?
Our agreements expire with that particular person. So I would just soon do an RFP of some sort. Our agreement with the auditor is also expired. It needs to be renewed or looked at as well.
Okay.
Christina Grasses.
Oh, okay.
To him.
Yep, sure.
Okay. Is that it for Leanne? Leanne?
I'm done. I
Oh,
made
is
it
it
short
exciting?
just for you.
So excited to fall asleep. I was waiting for more. Thank you. All good
Wait.
news. Thanks, Leanne.
Do you want some more, Christine? You want to go do? Oh, we'll do another half hour on finance.
Yes.
That ended on a great note. Everything was wonderful. I like it. Okay. Thank you, Leanne. I'll look for that email.
Paul and I have been living on the phone together for about a week now on the budget. So sure he has lots to talk
I'm
about.
sure he does. So we'll go ahead and move on before we can get started to number 5, committee updates. Derek was kind enough to sit in for my ARC. I've been gone playing more than working. So thank you, Derek, for that. Do you want to speak on ARC A or B? Anything to update?
No, they're good. We'll probably talk with Doug in executive session on a few ambiguities we want to address with respect to the guidelines. But other than that, everything went well. You have great committees and they're doing a great job.
Great. Okay. Betty, why don't you do a little, I know we've already talked, but a little blurb in our public session here about what you've got going on with education and recreation.
Yeah, we have just a number of sort of community events that are happening in this fourth quarter. We had a great little potluck with Travis, trivia with Travis. We've got Beth Darrell from the Conservancy joining us Monday in November for a talk about our deer population. We have trick or treat this weekend. And although it's not part of the BHA, I'm running the chili supper for the firehouse. So I'd appreciate if everybody would come and get some chili. And we have a number of things planned for the month of December. So we are busy. And it seems as though, if we miss an event, the Islanders say, well, gee, we used to do that. Why can't we do it? So they seem to love it. So we are very busy.
And you have an energetic group of committee members.
Yeah, I did want to say, when we do committee members next year, we have also had a lot of fallout. Probably 50% of
it happens with
have left us and did nothing. So it's 5 individuals doing all this year, and we really need some support to really do. But so anyway, that's ENR. But I have a question about can I ask a question about how we're doing with the community-wide standards? I had some questions from residents who said, is the program underway? What
every day.
We basically, we took the original 12 sections that we used to split amongst the CWS committee and we put them on a month basis. So section 1 is done in January, section 2, February, and so on and so forth. Both myself and Madison are in charge of taking care of that. We run out, we do inspections, we take good, clear, concise pictures. We have a checklist to let them know, hey, these are the things that need to be addressed. The homeowners receive a letter and an email letting them know that, hey, we would like to hear from you in the next 60 days to tell us what your plan is on how you plan to address it, or if you have any concerns or anything like that.
My letter.
And then they have up to 180 days to actually do the work itself. A lot of them will have it done in 60 days when we send the letter in the first place, but it gives them time in case, it's a poor time in the season, they're not around, things of that nature. We've done a really good job at keeping those letters to a point of not that same urgency of a violation letter as much as hey, this is an upkeep thing, not an emergency. That way that they don't have that pressure.
Is there some way for us to publicize how this is going so that the broader audience that's asking questions, it's a positive thing? And
we have key performance indicators built into Vanica, not so much into Enumerate. So we'll figure we can try to write some kind of blurbs, but my expectation with Vanica is we'll have numbers, quantities, and a regular reporting mechanism will come out of that.
I was just thinking about trying to communicate to the general population that the program is ongoing, and
we'll do that.
It's easy enough.
Yeah, I think you could put it in the monthly newsletter with a snapshot of the upcoming 3 months of communities that are getting their review. Again, so that the people that are concerned that this is going away see that, no, it's active, and the membership knows, okay, these are the ones that are on the list. I know we published it earlier, but I think it needs to be a rotating thing to keep that communication open.
Yeah, we can put that in Compass.
Everyone will know.
well said.
Everyone will know when their, little quad is coming up. And
Yeah, I don't think we have to publish violations or how many violations or anything like that. I just think just to keep people knowing that the activity is still happening.
Yeah.
And we've had very good responses from the homeowners that have had the letters come out to them, and they've called in, they've asked questions. They're like, oh, okay, so it's not there. I haven't had anybody angry.
We're not a typical neighborhood. I mean, some people come once a year for a week.
Yeah.
Some people come, once a quarter.
Yeah, and a lot of them will be like, I'm not coming back until this time. I'm like, and that's within 180, you're fine. It's just, we just needed to hear from you.
Communicated.
Yeah. So it's
Good.
it's been going rather smooth. Madison hasn't reported any problems on her end, and I haven't had any on mine. And at the end of the day, the signature, the phone number, the contact all comes to me if there's any problems. So
That's good. And a really good question, Betty. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, and also related to what Vicky just said, I know we had talked in the last couple of months about in the aggregate publicizing some information, whether it's CWS or ARC violations, specifically those that focus on lot cutting, because I think there's an opportunity for us to get ahead of this and communicate to the members that, hey, we are taking this seriously. Here is, there have been 5 lot cutting violations. All of those have been addressed by BHA. All of those have been mitigated. Hey, members, as a reminder, stop clear cutting your lots. This will result in a fine, and you will have to replant all the things. I think we could take a negative and turn it, if not into a positive, at least use that as an opportunity for teaching.
Yeah, and a prime example, and I'm not going to name the property, but I've visually seen it myself, that it was the worst of the worst, we all know. They were contacted immediately. It has now been mitigated. We fined correctly. We let them know what we needed. They listened to our advice, and it's done. So it happened pretty fast, and we just need to keep on that. And somehow or another, if we could use that as an example without giving away exactly where it is, we probably could do something like that, which I think we can.
I'll get together with Kim and we'll come up with some way to.
So good point on that. Okay, let's move on to, we've talked about finance, and I don't need to give Paul another opportunity to expand on that unless he really needs to. Is that a no? Okay.
No.
All right, let's move on to Steve. I'm sure you've got a couple of things to share. Well, I think we're pretty much into it, past it, but nominating committee, we're all set there.
Right. I mean, I think last month we thanked the nominating committees for their service and determined that because the individuals all who were recommended for nomination and who were nominated accepted, which was a touch and go question pending Christine's decision last meeting. That since they did all accept, that we're now the committee his work is concluded and has been disbanded.
Okay, so we'd like to thank the nominating committee, and I'm sure Steve has already done that, but that's it's a quick job, but it's still a hard and deliberate job. So thank you to them. Go ahead.
We are behind the scenes with Kim in process of distributing the usual candidate questions and prepping for getting information from candidates to website and to publications. So that ball has not been dropped. It's just in process.
Actually got my email, so that was good. And I think it's all due by the 10th or something. When is it due? Soon, a couple weeks.
I actually asked to have the discussion of the election process on here because I wanted to understand where are we in terms of, as you indicated, and maybe it was discussed at the last meeting and I wasn't here. What are we doing to make sure that we get these candidates out in front of the entire BHA, our voters? And I'm a bit concerned that we haven't heard anything. I know I don't know 2 out of the 3, and I know nothing about them. And I'd like to be able to understand. And are we going to have any chance to hear them address questions? Are we going to do any kind of a candidate forum? I will tell you that I received some negative comments about the BHA not supporting a village candidate forum. And I tried to educate those folks that it's not the BHA that puts it on. It is the League of Women Voters that is invited in to orchestrate it, and that the village could have done that themselves without our assistance. But I'm concerned about our own election. And to the extent that we're going to make these candidates available for our membership to interact with.
Betty, this is Kip. In the next issue of Compass, I have emailed the 3 candidates we have so far a question, requested their photos, so they will be in the next Compass. Yeah, at least once a month, I'll be asking them a question to respond in Compass. Then they'll be in the annual meeting packet as well on our website. So we are planning on doing that same publicity that we did last year. However, I think we've decided not to do the forum specifically, but they will, have opportunities to answer questions.
Okay, so
You did decide on no forum.
I think we'll just get questions about it. I think people appreciate having the opportunity to see individuals and to hear from them directly. And I think it was a mistake for the village this year not to have one. And I wouldn't want to have a mistake from us. So I just want to put that out there for your thoughts.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm open to anything. I do know that the club, although we're different, the club does not have any sort of forum. They just put out a bio and a blurb, and actually a long blurb when you vote on candidates there. Again, I'm certainly not opposed to it. The whole deal is that it wasn't our gig for the village, and we haven't always done it.
Right, and I think we have a justifiable position on that. But it was, I know I took a lot of heat from people.
I think
on
the village item, a significantly small portion of registered voters make up our HOA membership. That's why I agree with the point that if the village wanted to host a forum for village candidates, they should do that. I think a forum for our candidates is reasonable, so I am curious to understand why maybe we're considering not doing that.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with doing it. It's, I'm sure the other 2 candidates would be as well. Getting it that time of year, getting people on island sometimes is a little more difficult. We could have people join remote too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we broadcast it.
So last year we had a candidate that couldn't make the event, and we just did the questions for that candidate separately. Just made sure they had the same questions, and they didn't have them until the second they sat down.
And I know when Paul and I ran, we didn't have a forum.
No, forum is actually rather new for us.
Thing.
Yeah, we did it last year for more transparency, and
because we pretty much explained everything, our thoughts about why we're running. It's all out there. Anybody can see it. I'm always open for a phone call, or an email or whatever, but, don't need to have it. Don't care if we have it. Fine if we have it. That's the way I feel.
I mean, we could even.
I don't like getting people in a room and then angry squabbling going on. You've done nothing for anyone when that happens.
Well, I know when we did, I mean, it wasn't a matter of audience participation other than in generating questions that of interest.
We could always have questions submitted and people write them and the candidates write their answers. Go ahead.
I agree that on the decision on the village forum, I do think if we can, having one for our candidates is a good idea. Another potentially a big issue is what access or not that we give candidates to communicate otherwise. If you remember the issue a couple years ago where somebody gotten access to all the email addresses of the association, and that, so some people communicated directly and some people did not. So I think we ought to just make sure we know what we're going to do there or not do there. Hopefully that's all been all cleared up, but I think we need to maybe lay out a plan once we get the nominations announced as how we're going to do this.
They've been announced.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
there's still
Right.
time, self-nominating people, they have a
Yeah,
lot of time.
I'm sorry. Yeah, once everybody gets nominated.
And we'll know that after the election, I'm fairly sure who's going to, after the village election,
Okay.
council, mayor, then we'll know who's going to be running.
So I know behind the scenes, separate from the forum discussion, we've had meetings internally with staff on voting systems. So I know Dora's done some research on that as well, and trying to find ways that we can tighten up our control so we've had some good discussions on that. Example would be, if the ballots go out, for example, they could be returned to a company versus us. That's one less hand touching. It's more control. Same company would obviously be doing the digital ballots. So I tend to prefer that. We're looking into those options just to tighten the control. See if there's a way to get a certification out of a company. I have seen that with companies in the past where they certify the vote. A little unique here because you still have the option to show up at the meeting and vote. So you still have that piece, which is what it is. I think we're looking at more secure ballot boxes. We're looking at that too. So just those little bits that we're focused on.
It's a better look, right?
Yeah. And best practices, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I know Kim and I talked about questions, Kim, are coming back this first round, or the 10th or the 12th of November, Kim?
Yeah, the 14th is when the first set of questions, and then I think it's like the 15th of December is when the second set of questions will be answered. But then with Compass next week, I looking for the first little blurb, 200 words in Compass with a photograph, sort of to introduce the three candidates we have now.
Yeah, so I think a programmed approach of making sure we get those candidates out there right away as soon as we get the questions back, get those profiles up. I don't think we want to do a ton of stuff before the village election, which is why we set the question receipt after their election so that we don't distract people. Folks don't get confused. So that was intentional. And then the other thing that Kim and I talked about is once that happens and we start rolling into November, December timeframe, we're going to spread some questions out over the Compass so that we can kind of keep the candidates alive through the month and a half cycle, so that obviously the information will be up there, but we might pop another question in each Compass for each candidate just to keep it going, keep some momentum going with the
Good idea.
attention to the candidates. So.
Like it.
Hey, Doug, I mean, I don't know what you've done in the past. I don't know how many of you guys are aware, about 10 years ago, somebody hacked into the club election and actually would have impacted it if it hadn't been caught. So people do crazy things on this island. The club went to using an audit firm to manage their election. So some third party to do that would not be a bad idea, because, again, given the history of the island, people have hacked into systems trying to change elections. So the more we can do to tighten that up, the better off we will be if somebody tries that.
Yeah, I could spin your ear on some nightmare stories with elections. No, I did. So it's the more we can do, the better off we are. Unfortunate, but it happens. Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, the companies that we've been researching, everything would go through that third party except for that 1 hour of voting. digitally, it would still go through the third party, but if someone's physically here, that's where we bring in the lockbox, that kind of thing. So I mean, even if someone tries to hack that 1 hour voting, it's not going to come up against what's going on for the rest of the vote.
Well,
But
I mean, that part should be fairly secure because they've got to walk it in and sign it right there, right?
yeah, you're walking in, you sign it right there, you're sticking it in a lockbox, like nobody's touching it. There's only one person that has the key. So it's already, that part's very secure.
Right.
The company that we've been using in the past is also a rather secure company. It's just there were moments where they didn't host that third party send in. Like, so if you were going to mail your proxy in or if you were going to email it in, it was going to BHA. Whereas the other two that we're looking into right now, everything goes to that third party during the voting period, aside from that 1 hour if you're physically in the building.
Yeah, no, and that's where we screwed up 3 years ago, right? Where we forgot to put what's his name on the last minute ballot, right?
Oh, yeah. Or Nathan McBrayer. Yeah.
That
Then
wasn't
let-
fun. I was sitting next to Nathan when he found out when he looked on his phone. Anyway,
I didn't quite hear, Kim, everything that you said, but let me try and reiterate what my issue is. I think we need to solicit input from our membership to gather questions for these candidates. If we are not going to have a forum where individuals can interact with these candidates, I do think we need to involve our membership in what do you want to hear from them as part of this campaign.
I think Kim's doing that. She's going to.
Is that what you're doing, Kim? Is you're soliciting from our membership?
I have not, but I can do that when I put out the first round of questions. What I have right now are the list of questions that we used in the forum last year, and we'll tweak them, to fit this current circumstances. But at the end of, each round of questions, I can also put, hey, if there's a question you'd like to ask the candidates, let me know and we'll take care of that.
See, we had never done that in the past. Even when Russ did it, it came directly from Russ rather than the people, because it can get, first of all, difficult for the entirety of the room.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to overly complicate this, but I am trying to make sure that we try and find a way to engage our members with these candidates, and that we don't just publish, standard questions where they say, our name, I love bald head from eventual.
Well,
that kind of stuff we don't want. But I don't want us to have to defend ourselves after this election.
Okay.
Well, I think, Betty, you raised a very good point, but these members have their own responsibilities to reach out to these candidates on their own. And, they're always accessible. I got several individual phone calls from members asking me about issues. So we can certainly help out as much as we can, but they've got their own responsibility to reach out. If you care enough, you got to go talk to the candidate.
Well, I think we need to be in a position to present these candidates.
Yeah. No, I like the thought, and I think what we can work on is finding a way. Let's get those first round of questions out because they're fairly extensive. And then to Betty's point, Kim and I'll look at as we were thinking of distributing questions periodically to keep the momentum going. We could put a survey or a questionnaire or request.
Yeah.
That way we can filter those. And then and I say filter, I want to make sure they're appropriately worded. And include those as part of those questions that we distribute. I think that would be a good way to engage.
If we let our membership know that we are including them in this conversation.
Sure. No,
Trying to get information to them that's relevant to their issues.
It's a good idea.
So, thank you.
yeah, we've had some random folks come in with some issues, that we'll talk about later that they'd be good questions. I mean, they're normal neighborhood type questions. So I think that'd be good.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So that was, Steve, it's been a few minutes. Did you want to share anything else with, anything you've got going on with your committees? I think that covered it election?
No, I think we covered membership, long range planning. There's some activities I know that are going on in the background. I think that we can address briefly in executive.
That sounds good. Vicky, I don't want to leave you out. Is there anything you'd like to cover or mention?
No update right now.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. All right, let's move on to number 6, member.
Wait, one moment.
Sure.
Betty, the beautification and resource conservation committee, they have the the litter sweep this weekend, and the reforest program closes at the end of the month.
I forgot.
Thank you for adding that, Kim. I thought about that while we were talking about the election, and then it slipped my mind. How are we doing with the litter sweep signups or people coming?
I did just get an email from Jim. He's got volunteers lined up. We don't have as many trees coming in yet, so but we still have another week. So I've been pushing, getting those trees ordered so that we can, beautify the canopy.
And we tried to organize the litter sweep so that it doesn't happen during trick or treat. We've got trick or treat going on this weekend as well. So we got the litter sweep in the morning and the trick or treat in the
I was
afternoon.
gonna say it'd be almost better to have the litter sweep after the trick or treating because there are gonna be candy wrappers.
I read that. My apologies.
Okay, so one more week for that, for trees. There's been a lot going on, so I think that's why we haven't. How far down is participation with the ordering of trees? Do we know? Pretty significant.
It seems so. Pam Rainey would have the exact numbers. She just mentioned it to me the other day that it wasn't as good as previous years.
Let me see if I can do personally a little push on that. Maybe I'll repost a little something that you have, Kim.
Okay.
All right, and if we could all kind of do our part on that, it's kind of nice when we've lost so many trees over the past several years, and we've got people clear cutting. If we can get people to actually pay for trees and
Put them back.
this is the
Contact everybody that got a notice about clear cutting, saying, here's your opportunity to repopulate the trees.
That's exactly right. So, okay, you forward me something, Kim, so I can do something with that.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, that is that. Moving on to members' comments. And do we have anybody online, Dora?
No, we don't.
Oh, sorry, Kim. Okay.
I feel like we hit the election discussion topic, but is there anything else that you guys want to discuss?
So.
No? Okay, then we're moving on to you.
Oh, me. Okay. So we're moving on to number 8, board president's report. Don't really have a ton. I've had a super busy month this month. I want to let everyone know that I'm still hearing about the compass and how much people like it. They like how there's bullet points. Excuse me. Easy to read, more fun to read, open what you want to open, don't open. So that's pretty significant when people are actually mentioning it to me. So kudos on that, all of you. And Kim for, getting that out to everybody. Salt and Oats, I'm not saying I'm shocked, but I still hear about that. Someone saw me the other day and said, Salt and Oats, and put a thumb up. So people like it. It's attractive. It's chock full of good information. I have it on my coffee table. And so everyone likes it. They pretty much say it reminds them of what Limited has put out, except for without a ton of houses in it. So we have some good advertising, which I do think we need to rotate that advertising. I say that every month, and every month it doesn't seem to happen. I don't know if we're stuck on how I'll go ahead and say, I think the back page is the premier page, and it always stays the same. Even
Yeah. We have a contract for that. We had a contract for that for the whole year, but next year we're not going to do that.
You answered my question. Thank you. Now I have an answer, so I won't ever ask that again.
Okay.
Well, if they want to pay a lot more, let them have it all year. But
Oh,
Is that the way we're going to go? Leave it as is, or do we want to rotate?
I'll chime in on this one. So we're also working, we've developed a style that we like. We're going to work with advertisers to marry up with that style with their advertisements, which is pretty common in the media industry. So, that gives us an opportunity to take a look at what their ads look like. You know, for example, if there's a cartoonish ad of some sort, it doesn't really go with our style at this point. So we're going to work with those folks, give them an opportunity to maybe match up with our style a little better. That in turn gives us an opportunity to kind of move some ads around, change up the look. Love to see a couple more full pagers in there. And so we'll chase some of that down, getting of the year.
Excellent.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and we have a couple new places that I'm sure Kim's already going after, every business there is on the island, and people that aren't on the island that would like to do business with people on the island. So I'm sure she's doing that. And
Started twisting some arms too.
Oh, good.
So,
Thank
yeah.
thank you. So let me move on. Social media. I check this out every once in a while, and when we are utilizing it, we're getting more thumbs up. I'm sure Kim knows the number on that, but I've noticed that more people are actually viewing, possibly commenting, certainly liking or loving some of our posts. That never used to happen really, and it is happening now. That is a big deal because if we have it, we need to utilize it. Otherwise, it needs to go away. I've said that for a couple of years now, and we're actually utilizing it now with meat, something of substance. So that's good. So thank you all for that also. Also like the idea Kim's utilized with people sending in pictures. When you get people to interact, they're more apt to pay attention and read and follow through and follow up with things, all BHA things. So that's a good job there. I had written down before Leanne, I got to tell you, I am so excited. Leanne said 100% we're caught up with unpaid dues. I was going to mention that we're so close, and never has it been better here at the BHA that I'm aware of ever. 100%. That's huge. That means someone's doing their job correctly here, most likely all of you. And, if you come up with a good plan and follow through with it, this is what you get. So, wow, I think it's huge. So thank you for that, all of you that had a hand in that. As Derek said, the ARC continues to run smoothly. And, Chris has been here for a little bit now. So I'm going to say thanks to Chris Howard. She is wonderful to work with. Our membership is enjoying having her and dealing with her. She's excited no matter what's going on. She's working on something before it needs to be worked on, getting ahead of the ball. I love it. So with her leadership and her team members, as well as all the volunteers, chairs, and our contributing architects, I just don't hear bad things. And if you all do, call Chris or call Dora or Doug and let them know so it can get resolved. We don't want people out there, spreading bad rumors when we have a great workforce here that's doing a great job. So we want to continue to make sure that's, being talked about in the right way.
I was up there yesterday and talking with Chris, and just she is so excited about her job. And she said, I was kind of worried when I first came back that was I really going to be able to do it? And she is just so positive. And I want to say I can just feel the lightness in the staff, that we've got great community relations and positive interactions. And it's wonderful. So we thank you for a great face to the customer.
I would echo what Betty said. I think that's exactly right. Working with Chris a little bit more than the rest of the board, she is incredibly responsive, a can-do person. We have meetings on Fridays, ARC meetings, and the minutes are to me on Monday morning. It's amazing. And so she's a can-do person. So hats off to her and everyone there. Y'all are doing a great job.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because I'm telling you, I knew Chris could do the job, you know, when I talked to her early on.
I'm a fan.
That goes up. Oh, and then lastly, we've already talked about it, but I just, you know, Betty's not gonna, you know, really talk about it and give herself enough credit. It takes a village. I mentioned last year that, you know, when I heard what it was going to cost BHA to do, again, Smith Island Land Trust, I can't ever fathom how we're sponsoring something that doesn't have our name on it. It's our hardest working day of the year with elections. And, you know, a storm made it not happen last year. And we had a little time to think about it. And Betty and Ann, but Betty came up with this idea. It takes a village. It does. And they all need to be involved. They're all happily going to be involved. One of the things the membership does not like is paying a lot of money for things. So they shouldn't have to pay a lot of money to come and appreciate the volunteers of the island. Betty's making this happen. Kim is going to be a big part of getting, you know, managing how this is going to look so it's not all over the place. It's going to look beautiful. But Kim's going to take the lead on that and share it with the other island entities and make sure that they're following suit. So,
and I want to highlight Kim, because we met yesterday, and you know, this is a party. This is a celebration. This shouldn't be a grind to put together. And she's full of creativity and full of ideas, and her event planning background is really, really shining through. So it's going to be fun. We are really looking forward to it. And Vicky is the BHA representative on the advisory
that's what I
team.
wanted to mention.
So I want to thank you for that, Vicky. So we're planning a party.
Yeah. And we need a party after all the hard work, right? All right. That is it for me, unless anyone has any questions for me. No one online? Okay. So it is 9:43. We'll take, and I'm going to call this meeting to a close.
Could I just note that given the issues a few people have raised, that trying to talk to Doug to find out what's going on, no one ever shows up for these meetings. And people love to complain, and they don't even take the time they'd rather waste Doug's time than come to our meetings, but it bugs me.
And that's a great statement to close on. So I'd like to call this meeting to a close. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we are going to resume. Why don't y'all get your cup of tea or coffee, go to restroom break, take a walk, stretch your legs, be back in. Is 10 minutes good?
10's good.
I got a quick question. Dora, did we use the other Zoom
Yes, the
invite
other
for the
meeting.
next
So it
meeting?
should be at the top of your agenda, or it's the one that showed up on your calendar invite, which those are both the same one. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye guys, thanks, see you in a few.
Bye.